Coming up on Mountain News this morning, it's almost Thanksgiving and Americans everywhere are heading to their destinations for the perfect holiday. And one Kentucky state park is eyeing the inclusion of a resort that could bring in dividends for the community.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Madison Carmouche. We are inching up to 6:30 this Wednesday morning, and today is already November 27th. Let's check in with meteorologist Megan Dusmall for a look at your forecast this morning. And Megan, we've kind of already talked about it this morning, but November has flown by.
It really has, and I mean, December 1st is already on the 7 day, so we're really getting close to that December mark. I can't believe it. But as you're heading out the door, you might not be able to believe these temperatures as it's going to be quite cold. We're looking in the 30s across the board, and the more unbelievable part is how much we'll be warming up after this. So take a look at these temperatures and take a look at how warm it's going to get up to. Here are the forecast highs for today. We're looking at the mid to upper 50s across the board. Some places could potentially even see that 60-degree mark being hit today, so definitely something to look out for. Some positive news for your Wednesday, but another thing that will be on your radar is the rain. It'll be mostly clear for today, but as we're going into the evening hours, we'll see that rain pick up and it'll dry on out, leaving for a wet morning for your Thanksgiving, and then you could see just a flake or two in the afternoon of your Thanksgiving. And for the next couple of hours, that 12-hour forecast has those temperatures warming up 56 by the time 3 p.m. rolls around and starting to cool down ever so slightly into your evening hours. And I'll have your bus stop forecast in just a couple of minutes. Madison?
All right, Megan, thank you. We are just one day away from Thanksgiving, and millions of Americans will take to the skies for the holiday. AAA of the Bluegrass says air travel is pretty flat compared to last year for Kentuckians, despite TSA saying that they are expecting to see record-breaking air travel nationally. It is a yearly tradition Bluegrass Airport officials in Lexington say they are prepared for.
We enjoy this time of year. It's great to be busy, so I think all hands on deck is great, but the good news is we know it's going to happen every single year, so I think we're always prepared.
The Bluegrass Airport, by all accounts, is on the smaller side. While there is increased traffic expected, some travelers say they are also preparing for what they could find at their much bigger destination. Officials say Thanksgiving is the busiest travel holiday for roads in Kentucky. 96% of those travelers are expected to be in their personal car, according to AAA. Officials are urging drivers to be more patient with more crowded roads. Laurel County Sheriff's Office Public Affairs Officer Gilbert Achardo says there will be extra patrols for the holiday as people celebrate.
All the holidays, and this is a major holiday for us, we're going to have extra patrols out there, not just our agency, but all the other police agencies in this area as well. We'll have extra patrols out to make sure that people are obeying the rules of the road.
Achardo says they recommend using the Waze travel app to detect potential crashes and slowdowns as you travel. Officials also urge drivers to make sure their cars are road ready before long trips. With colder temperatures ahead this holiday weekend, officials are also urging drivers to be ready for the weather. Colder temperatures can lead to lower tire pressure and slick roads with wintry precipitation. Lori Weaver Hawkins with AAA says packing things that can help with tire traction could help.
So that might be a small bag of sand, some snow melt, or even kitty litter will do the job. Some people even use traction mats. You want to make sure that you have your ice scraper in your vehicle and that it has a snow broom on the other end, or that you have a separate snow broom as well.
Hawkins says they also recommend shovels and heavier clothing in case you get stuck. One Kentucky football player is trading quarterback sacks for sacks of Thanksgiving dinners. Defensive tackle Deon Walker connected with the charity Big Brothers and Big Sisters of the Bluegrass. The organization provided Walker with a big brother when he was growing up in his native Detroit. Now, the All-SEC defensive lineman wants to give back to those associated with the program by doing a Thanksgiving drive.
It's really like a full circle moment. Like, I was in it. Now I'm helping other people get a part of it. I don't want nobody to go unfed.
Walker may be number 0 on the field, but off it, he is number 1 in many of people's hearts. Efforts to place a resort at the Southern Kentucky State Park on Lake Cumberland could be one step closer to happening. A study released last week shows the benefits of a resort on General Burnside Island State Park. WYMT's Phil Pendleton spoke to Burnside's mayor about a study renewing optimism for the addition.
From the links to living it up on the lake, Burnside is largely a summertime destination.
I would hopefully we'd have some type of venue that would bring people here year-round.
The only city on Lake Cumberland swells from 1,000 to more than 20,000 any given weekend during the summer. Now a study confirms what many in the community already knew: a resort is needed.
And that study now is complete, and it's very encouraging, the numbers that we got back.
A Chicago-based firm states a resort at General Burnside Island State Park could generate 700 construction jobs, eventually 28 full-time jobs, and an economic impact of $737 million.
This would not only just help Burnside, it's going to help Pulaski County and the 10-county region. So everybody's pretty excited about this.
The next step in this process is for Kentucky lawmakers to approve a lease from the Kentucky Department of Parks that then can result in an RFP, a request for proposal, that could then gauge some developer interest. The resort could include a conference center and more than 120 hotel rooms. But he says the state park will remain 100% open to the public.
I want it to be where the public can go over and enjoy a swimming pool, enjoy the golf course, to have hiking trails, those type of amenities to where the locals can go and enjoy it as well.
In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Burnside's mayor says if plans are approved, construction on the resort could start within the next several years.
Today's temperatures are significantly colder than yesterday morning, and you can really see that on the 24-hour temperature change graphic. I mean, 18 degrees colder right now than it was yesterday in Jonesville. And if you are in Jacksboro, 15 degrees colder. And if you are in Middlesboro, 16 degrees colder. Not as intense of cold shift if you are traveling more towards the west, only 6 degrees colder in Hayden and Irvin this morning. But as we look at those temperatures, you can see why there is such a shift from yesterday, as we are quite cold, really looking in that 30s range for today, with a few exceptions. London at 40 degrees and Monticello at 42 degrees. But we will be warming into those highs for today in the mid to upper 50s. Some places potentially even seeing that 60-degree mark being hit. But with the amount of clouds that we're seeing, maybe not. We're really monitoring that throughout the day. We do have those rain chances for today too that will start to pick up as you're going into your evening and overnight hours and continuing into your Thanksgiving. But as you're heading off to the bus stop this morning, 39 degrees this morning with some cloudy skies that will continue into your lunch hour. 50 degrees, and by the time you're heading home, 56 degrees, and that's when you could start to see that sprinkle or two of that rain this evening. Madison.
All right, Megan, thank you. Turkey and football are two of Thanksgiving's biggest traditions, but as teams across America take the field this holiday weekend, the sport is tackling growing concerns about player safety with a big focus on concussions. Michael Yoshia reports.
Football practice at Lanier High School in Georgia looks a little different this year.
You've seen it in colleges and in the pros, and I think nowadays we're always looking for different ways to help protect our kids.
Enter padded covers like the Guardian Cap, which slips over a player's helmet with the goal of adding an extra layer of protection.
So apparently I'm blowing up in the news right now.
The NFL has embraced the technology amid calls to improve safety. This season, for the first time, players are allowed to wear the caps during regular season games. The league began requiring them in 2022 for most players during certain practices.
We saw a decrease in concussions of about 50% from the affected position groups.
The NFL has not released the data behind its claims. Guardian Sports, which makes the Guardian Cap, points to its own testing, as well as years of use by college and professional players as proof the padded coverings reduce injuries. but with one caveat.
We don't like to use concussion as a metric of what the Guardian Cap does or doesn't do. What we know that the Guardian Cap does is it reduces those non-concussive blows.
Several groups of independent researchers recently tested Guardian Caps in the lab and on the field, and the results have been mixed. Some studies found small benefits in reducing impacts to the head and brain, but others showed no positive difference between players wearing caps and those who don't.
There's no helmet right now. There's no helmet add-on that can eliminate concussion risk. And more work needs to be done on those repeated subconcussive blows or the lower velocity impacts that our younger athletes are exposed to.
And that's important because mounting scientific evidence shows repeated hits to the head, even if they don't cause concussions, can have lasting impacts on the brain, like chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, a progressive degenerative brain disease.
The mystery of CT is starting to disappear in football. We're figuring out why people are getting it. And it's essentially a math problem. It's the number of hits and the strength of the hits that someone takes over their lifetime. So the best analogy is probably smoking and lung cancer. The more cigarettes, the longer you do it, the greater your risk.
Concerns that are having an impact on the sport, as leagues and teams change rules and try new technologies in attempts to make the game safer.
My mom, she loves it. She even seen them. She's been talking about extra protection and safety since I was little.
Football's changed a lot in the last 10, 15 years and how you practice and what happens because of all the safety concerns.
I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
As weight loss drugs become readily available, a new rule may make them more accessible for more people. The Biden administration is taking a step to lower the cost of popular anti-obesity medication. They are proposing an expansion of Medicaid and Medicare coverage to include drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. Without insurance, these drugs can cost up to $1,000 a month. The proposal aims to cut out-of-pocket cost by up to 95% for some Medicare and Medicaid enrollees.
Today are announcing that we're reinterpreting the prohibition on weight loss drugs. So when the law was originally passed, Medicare could not cover weight loss drugs. We are saying that obesity is a disease and that we're proposing that Medicare and Medicaid cover anti-obesity medication.
Obesity affects 42% of Americans, increasing the risks for diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. The proposed rule will incorporate feedback the private sector, including drug manufacturers, and go through a formal public comment process before it can be finalized. A federal judge gave final approval to a settlement that will have a big impact on the real estate industry. Groups of home sellers brought lawsuits against the National Association of Realtors for its standard commission structure, saying it was a violation of antitrust lawsuits. The real estate trade group reached a deal to settle back in March. A judge granted preliminary approval to the agreement in April, and final approval was on Tuesday. The $418 million settlement also includes rule changes related to agent commissions, which took effect in August. Disney is agreeing to pay $43 million to settle a gender pay lawsuit. The case involves nearly 9,000 women who claimed they received lower wages compared to their male counterparts. The worker who started the lawsuit says she did so after learning about a $20,000 pay gap with a less experienced colleague with the same title. Disney did not admit fault, but says it is committed to paying workers fairly. A judge still needs to approve the settlement. A new study shows a majority of social media influencers do not verify information before sharing it online. Researchers at UNESCO surveyed 500 digital creators across 45 countries and territories in August and September of 2024. 62% of those surveyed said they don't vet the accuracy of their content before posting to followers. 4 in 10 influencers said they evaluate credibility based on the numbers of likes and views an item receives online.
Stop.